Welcome to another episode of the Strong Family Project podcast. I'm Joe, joined by Mel. We have a huge 10-minute episode for you today. It's going to be a lot going on, so you want to get your pens and papers out. We're going to talk about how to solve the lack of energy as a parent problem. Mel, read us in.
Welcome back to the Strong Family Project podcast, where we guide you on the path to raising confident, independent, and resilient children in a strong family environment.
So I was on Facebook this week sharing a concept that I actually wrote an article on strongfamilyproject.com about as well, called Difference Days. And that's a day that makes a big difference in your life, more so than an average day would. Some days just blend together, and then all of a sudden you have a day that has an exceptional challenge or memory to it that makes a bigger difference and impact in your life. And so we had one of those the other day, and I'll explain that in a moment if we have time. And I posted about it. It was snowing, and soccer practice was canceled, and Henry was bummed up about it typically. However, I said, hey, we can't control the weather. Let's not spend our energy on that. I hate talking about weather. I only like to talk about weather in reference to how much I dislike talking about weather because it is the ultimate example of things that we cannot change and dominates a lot of our conversations. Like, it is the definition of a surface level conversation for me. Oh, how's the weather? Fine. Like, it's always fine. It is what it is. And so anyways, Henry used to get bummed out about the weather, and we were teaching him you got to control the controllables. That's outside your control. And he said, practice is canceled, but I can control going out and practicing in the driveway. A couple inches of snow still left from a spring snowstorm we had in Colorado. He's out there kicking the soccer ball around the snow and having a great time. Everett went out, our youngest. I went out to be goalie. And Everett started saying, it's so hot out here, like sarcastically. I'm going to take my shirt off. He takes his shirt off. He's out playing in the snow and having a great time. And tell Mel to look out the window. We're all out there topless, playing around the snow, playing soccer, having a good old time despite the quote-unquote bad weather day. Because that was an opportunity to make a difference in a memory. Here's why I'm bothering to tell that. I shared that story, and someone commented like, hey, I would like to see you rest more. I want you to share more posts about you resting instead of doing challenging things or working hard or stuff like that. And this isn't a knock on the person. She must be going through something else in her life. I won't even say internet hater. Like, that's too general. It's just simply whatever she's going through, she wants to feel like other people are saying, hey, take more rest. And it is very popular right now to I shouldn't say popular to balance. It's unpopular to balance. It is popular to say, hey, let's go super hard, or, hey, self-care, you need to take like every day off.
That's a little extreme, but yes.
Like, rest, take care of yourself, pay attention. That is true to an extent, and so is working hard. It's true to an extent. And what happens is we don't have enough energy to pour into our families, and that's what I want to tackle in today's 10-minute episode, the 3 Ps of having more energy, because it is not that you've worked too hard. We are underworked in general in this country significantly. And let me give you some proof of concept. Our jobs, much less physical because a lot of them have been automated. And that plays a role, as well as many other things, in the obesity epidemic we have right now, which is actually stored energy on your body. On a very surface level, fat is stored energy on your body. And so you have all this stored energy and you're not expending it. It could be stress-induced, could be some hormonal stuff going on that contributes to it. But at the end of the day, we got extra energy. It's not that we're all grinding away all day and we're skinny because we're out there being loggers in northern Maine or anything like that. We're sitting at a desk and we come home, we feel burnt out, not because of our energy, but because we're missing these 3 Ps. And once we work on them, and maybe you're just missing one of the 3, once we start working on these, you'll have a ton more energy to pour into your life and your family. All right, Mel, let's get into the 3 Ps. That was all intro work here in the first 3 minutes on a 10-minute one. First one is purpose. If you have a great purpose in your life and you have a goal and you have a vision, you're going to wake up, your feet are going to hit the ground, and you have a ton of energy, like you're going to start dancing your way through the day. If you don't have a great purpose, you're going to slide out of bed feet are going to hit the ground, and then they're going to go back in bed. And then they hit the ground, and then they're going to go back in bed. And they're finally going to come out, and you'll go get that coffee. No one talked to me before I get my coffee. And you'll sit down, and you'll just cherish this coffee because it's the highlight of your day, and you sip it, and then you start your day, because that's not a lack of energy. That's just a misdiagnosed lack of energy. It's a lack of purpose in your day that you're not looking forward to or going to enjoy what you are about to have to do.
And just to refer back to our morning routine, this is the point of it. It gives us as parents and our kids purpose. So that's part of our path. If you could love to go, we'd love it if you go back and listen to that one about the morning routine, because the kids get up in the morning and they already have 3 or 4 tasks that they know they need to do, and it gives them purpose and contribution to the family. So they energize right away.
Here's a great self-check, and we got to be honest with this. If someone asks how your day going and you give one of those generic answers, oh, I'm grinding away, another day, another dollar. Give me another one, Mel.
I don't know. I was going to say the daily grind, but you already covered that one.
Another day working for the man. Oh, you know how it is. How's your day going? Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know what it's like fully to just be so lack of purpose with the day that I have to use this little conversation as a way to vent my frustrations. And so if you're another day, another dollar person, it might be a purpose thing. Next. Progress. If all your days are the same and you haven't had any significant progress, it is going to be energy zapping. If you have had the same job role for 10, 15, 20 years, it's going to turn into that kind of lack of purpose, lack of progress phase where you're not sure about the direction you're going, but you also feel like you've gone so far that you don't want to change directions, but you're not even sure where that's going. You're 10 years in, you don't want to change careers, and now you have this midlife crisis, and it's partially lack of purpose, but also lack of progress. You can have a purpose where you want to do this very passionate thing, but if you don't get any movement on that thing and you don't see any victories along the way, it gets to be very challenging and it gets to be very draining.
And I think every parent wants to see their kid make progress. And we as parents need to be role models of people who are still making progress as adults. So if your kids see you just stagnant, I think it's important to self-reflect and see how that might be impacting them.
And yeah, to bring it right back to family life, and I'm glad you did that, Mel. If you have the same daily struggles with your family, your significant other, your children, yourself, your internal view of what your day is going to be, it's probably because there's no change from the previous day, which is the definition of lack of progress. It's just all the same. And the solve for that is to set up very little wins. And the solve for actually both of them, we have the core values for your family, where you define who you are as people, and that gives you purpose. And then for progress, part of the Strong Family Path is our goal setting method of setting your 1-year vision, then breaking it down to commitments that happen every day. So you see baked in some progress. And so you get zapped energy. You become a zombie parent when you don't have those two pieces. And so we're also providing the solution for you. Yes, I'm identifying them. And I say it with heated language because I've gone through these days. I've gone through these months. I've gone through these years where I'm like, oh, that was the same as another year. What happened? And so, yeah, we're going to identify one more P here in a second, but also, I guess, another P of the plug is we have this resource for you called the Strong Family Path that solves this, and it's free, and it's over on our website at strongfamilyproject.com, because I am animated about this. I think it's just plain wrong that parents don't have access to the education they need to solve this lack of energy. And the lack of energy affects everything else, and your kids soak it up, your coworkers soak it up, your significant other feels like, hey, this person's like not the same as they were. It's not necessarily, no, maybe you got ugly, but it's probably not your physical characteristics. It's probably your internal view of yourself, and it has to do with these.
And it's part of why we got so passionate, another P word, about helping families have a stronger family environment. These 7 pieces of the path have helped us. We've lived it for years now, and we're still progressing. We certainly don't have it all figured out, but we try to take a step forward every day. The
last P is perspective. And this is a massive one. And the reason why we're out playing soccer in the snow, so Henry gains perspective that cold weather, we won't drop dead. And now he knows that, and they've been out playing. It wasn't that one example. It's been happening over time where now they aren't as hesitant to go play in an environment like that because they've gained a new perspective. We gain new perspectives on what's difficult as adults based on the days that we go through and are successful. And those are the difference days. Those are the days where everything seems like it's going to fall apart, and then you do or say or enact something, and then it gets back on track. You made a significant difference in that day, but also your skill set and your perspective on your ability to control days like that. And once you learn that it's all within your power, you can start influencing things in a different way. The only way to learn that it's in your power is to gain perspective on it and to survive a couple of the hard days and to turn a couple of hard days around and don't run from hard things. And so I'll give you an example outside of family life, and I know Mel has one too. There's been some things I've accomplished in the last few years that I wouldn't have been able to accomplish if I was the first one. The old Roger Bannister running the 4-minute mile that a bunch of people have since because he gave them the perspective that it was possible. I follow someone, we interact on the old Instagram, a guy named Will Grumpke. He went out one day and said, hey, I can run 100 miles in over 24 hours. He did it around the parking lot at his work, which I thought was pretty dang cool. And I was like, you know what? That gave me some perspective on maybe, since I'm generally fit and work out, I could survive 100 miles. Not a runner. Not at all. No, did no running. Sign up for a 100-mile race 10 days before called Ring the Springs. It was Colorado Springs 100-miler. Unseasonably hot day. Most of the participants dropped out because of heat issues. 100 miles through the mountains, significant elevation gain, which I didn't have perspective on because he ran around a parking lot, but whatever, it's possible. All of a sudden, like, the trail takes us up a mountain. I'm like, oh no. But whatever, I was just going to keep going because I knew it was possible because I knew other people had done it, which gave me perspective, and I ended up completing 100 miles with essentially no running training because I had a strong perspective on it being doable.
And shifting your perspective does not require such an extreme example either. So Joe and I had committed to doing a challenge called 75 Hard, and it requires you to go outside for a 45-minute workout every day. It can be a run, a walk, a workout, but you have to be outside and you have to be in the elements. So you don't get to skip a day if it's snowing. You don't get to skip a day if it's raining. And there were a couple days we did this during the cold months when I avoided the walk for a lot of the day. I dreaded it. It was in my head. But I knew we had committed to this, and honestly, if we hadn't committed together, I might have not done it. So because we committed to it, we got all bundled up. Joe knows I have 30,000 layers I put on, and we went out and did it. And was it cold? Yes. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. But the way I felt when I got back and I had done it gave me a new perspective on what I can do.
And that one day of just miserable weather, I remember I didn't want to be out there either. It gives you perspective on all the other days. You're like, oh, it's a little bit rainy, but that's not bad. But before it'd be like, oh, it's raining, I'm not going out. But now it's, oh, it's way better than that one day. Like, I made it through that. I can certainly do it through this. My family had this crisis and we navigated. I can certainly handle this smaller thing. My child brought this home from school, and instead of panicking, I was able to navigate the situation and figure it out. I can certainly navigate and handle this one. Perspective matters a ton.
And that challenge that we did, it was really not about physical fitness. It was more about mental toughness. And that's what we really want to pass on to our kids. And they watch us do it. So they certainly glean something from watching us do those difficult things.
We do it intentionally to give them perspective. The 100-miler, you guys were at the finish line. The day I did the 4,140 pull-ups on my 40th birthday, Henry was there, and he got perspective on it being possible when normally he thought 10 pull-ups was a lot. And then all of a sudden he's doing 1,011 on his 11th birthday because it gave him a different perspective on what the human capabilities are, which are just so vast and so limited by our mindset. And so I want to put that out there because I did get the feedback when we're out there working as a family. Hey, can we just shut it down for a while? Can you just stop for a while? Can you just rest for a while? I get the self-care part. Rest when it's easy, not when it's hard, because it's not the hard thing that's making you rest. It's just scheduled rest. Like if you have an easy day and sit back, lounge in beautiful weather, sun shining, you just want to hang out with your family, absolutely. But don't rest just because you're trying to avoid something that is challenging, whether it's a physical challenge or a situational challenge, a tough conversation you need to have. Those aren't days you get to check out. And if you check out on too many of those days, you become that parent zombie that I talked about, where you're just floating throughout the day without any purpose, without seeing any progress, and no perspective on what's possible for you and your family.
And I think a question we can finish up with is, you can ask yourself, what's the worst that'll happen if I do this? Like, what's the worst that'll happen if Henry goes outside when it's cold without a shirt and plays soccer? What is the worst? And challenge those perspectives by asking yourself questions.
You're going to have a lot of people commenting about cold weather stuff, which we'll have to do a whole nother episode on if I get more on that. But I wanted to make sure that we went over this and gave you a way to diagnose what's going on in your life, because we have gone through all of this. And sometimes it's a lack of progress. I loved the teaching in the classroom. However, I was going to teach the same subject each half of the year over and over again. They gave me the same textbook. Excuse me. And it was like Groundhog Day, and it was just a lack of progress. I started burning out, not because of physical exertion, but because I was checking out, because I wasn't seeing any vision in my life. I wasn't seeing any goals. Like, hey, I'm just going to do this same subject for half a year over and over again. And that individual situation wasn't for me. Purpose is another one. Hey, what are we doing here? These big life questions. That midlife crisis has a lot to do with purpose, where you feel like you've gone so far, but you're not quite where you want it to be, and now you don't know where you're going either, but now it's too late to turn, and you go through all this struggle. And the last one, perspective. Look for some role models and get around people that elevate you. They will teach you some good perspective. So all this is solvable with a little bit of honesty on what's the challenge for you right now. And we do have the resource for you at strongfamilyproject.com, which is called The Path. That is a resource that will give you purpose, which will help you plan for your progress and give you perspective on what other families do by essentially giving you what we do completely free. Mel, you wanted to jump in before we sign off?
Sure. I always try to bring it back to the whole family. And if you start to ask these hard questions, and Joe said diagnose what's going on, you will be role modeling it for your kids. And I think that is just incredibly powerful and exciting.
And I hope this doesn't come off as harsh. I hope it does come off as caring, because I think it's just plain wrong that so many people are walking around with completely zapped energy. And that is true. However, it's not physical exertion that's doing it. It's weird that doing exercise actually gives you more energy, and that there's some proven concepts there. It is usually a lack of perspective, progress, and purpose. And so by saying I need rest, and physically resting from movement by laying down all the time or whatever it is, being slothy, not going very far, sitting in your favorite chair all the time, you're solving a problem that doesn't exist. You are burnout not because of physical movement. You're burnout because of all of these other emotional and mental baggage, which is completely real and solvable. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Strong Family Project podcast. I think we went a little bit over the 10-minute Tuesday, but hey, I wanted to make sure that we covered it all in depth in the right perspective for you. Thank you for watching.